evening, and welcome to Conversations with Extraordinary People. This is Manifesting with Meg, episode 63, and it's all about so never quit, never quit, never quit. Tonight, I want to welcome everyone to this really special episode because I have my amazing guest, first of all, Berta Medina, who is just a rock star in so many different ways. And as usual, I do love to share her with the world because I feel like it's a special secret gem that I found. And I have to say, did you see her? So for sure, if you're going to never quit, she's definitely someone you want on your team in your life. But also because today is April 12th, 2021. And today we're trying to consider it a celebration of my mom and her memory. And Berta also lost her mom within the last year and a half too. And we want to honor those legacies that make us the dynamic individuals that we are and that most individuals are, because without their moms, I don't know if we would be here. We probably wouldn't. Clearly. And so that sounded kind of dumb, but the reality is, yes, the truth of the matter is without our moms, who are we? So before I start, this is in fact dedicated to Mary Jo and to Bertalina. This is April, month of transforming dreams into reality. It is a fantastic month in the Magical Guide to Bliss. One of my favorite months because all the hard work from January forward starts to actually become realized now. And I always like to believe that my mother has her hand in a lot of the wonderful things that come to fruition. Suzanne Simonetti's here. So happy to have you and invite you to be a part of the conversation tonight. This is a show about transformation, dreams, inspiration, true happiness, discovering bliss, and it's time, as always, to manifest the life of our dreams together as we move forward, looking for guidance from each other. And I love this part because I love to be intentional. So it's time to really, truly set our intentions. I actually want to point out why I do this. And I think that as we go through life, when we get clarity around why we do things, why we're here. And I love that I play into this, Berta, because Berta has a book called The Why is the Way. So stay tuned. We'll talk about that as well. But I think that when you set your intentions, you truly kind of guide yourself as to what speaks to you in your heart and your dreams and your goals and your life setting. So when we do that, and usually mine is to have a good time, and I love every person who comes on here, I'm always having a good time. But with Berta, I'd like you to also set your intention for the interview and then also pick a number in the Magical Guide. And I'm going to be able to read it tonight if you allow me that, Berta. Certainly maybe guided by, our mothers and what they would want us to hear as well. So I'm going to introduce the magical Berta Medina. She is the eternal optimist who believes in the power of generosity and is passionate about sharing her message that dreamers truly succeed. So you have an incredible dreamer who wants to get you guys to the dreamer succeeding stage. And you got a manifester here tonight. So there's all sorts of what we're going to have. You like that?
I love it.
Listen to this. After years of building, operating, growing her own successful business, she took her experience and love for philanthropy to travel to Africa. Yes, that's what I said, Africa, on a harrowing climb to Mount Kilimanjaro. That means more to her. Basically, that was a life's vision to do this. And she went to the peak as part of a mission trip to change the world for Maasai children. Now, I don't know if you know a lot of people who have gone out there to do something so selfless as well to raise money to help these kids. But I want to tell you, this is the kind of woman she is. So since she reached the peak at 19,341 feet, she has re-envisioned the importance of goals and the power of generosity. Now she helps businesses and individuals connect genuinely, give genuinely, and reach a level of success and fulfillment that means more to her clients than just the bottom line. She's a keynote speaker, and she's amazing at that. Professional certified coach with the ICF, which is the International Coaching Federation. An author, like I said, a certified go-giver speaker, Thrive Through Accountability expert, and host of the Dreamers Succeed podcast. And I would encourage all of you to take a look at her podcast because she has some really great guests who will get you inspired. But more importantly, she has a passion to bring people to fulfill their dreams, and her workshops and keynotes help their audience realize their goals. And you couldn't expect anything more, because literally, if you have someone on your team who's going to help you get to the end where you see your dreams realized, transforming them into reality, Berta is your girl. And I will tell you, she motivates those who need a push, because she is an accountability bitch. So let's start the conversation like that. You're not going to get away with anything. So now, oh my God, how grateful I am tonight to get to share this episode with you, Berta. Thank you so much for honoring me. I really do appreciate it with everything I have. So thank you.
Thank you, Meg. I'm the one who's honored, and I know how special today is. So I'm just stoked and really, really grateful that I get to share this space with you today.
I think that, once, our moms leave, it's kind of like that wonderful cornerstone foundation for a lot of people, maybe not for everyone, but, we kind of look to them to nurture, to care, to love us. And then when that unconditional love goes away, you're going to have to start looking in the mirror and putting the mask or the oxygen on yourself and starting to love yourself without, knowing full well that you've been given everything that you need to succeed in life. Let me ask you about your own personal relationship with your mom, as far as, her impact on you being a dreamer and who's, calling other dreamers to succeed and wake up.
That's interesting, Meg. My mom, and I love the way that you put it, because I think for a lot of us, the loss of a mom, which I think that a parent, but a mom especially, is something that really shakes you to the core. Mm-hmm. Whether it's something that's expected from a disease or something that's sudden, it doesn't matter. It really does shake you. And I think that depending on how old you are when that happens, it's possible that you tend to wait for that not to be there in order to start working on that loving of yourself. So for me, fortunately, it came a little bit before my mom. I thought my mom was going to be here. She was going to live to be 100. She was 84 years old. I thought I had all the time in the world. But I really, at 50, and I think it was the 50, right? Started very, very intentionally working on getting to know myself and loving myself.
Yeah.
And I traveled a lot alone. When I went on that first mission trip, I came back and I said, every year, we're Catholic and Cuban, and we get raised with all this guilt, and we don't travel without our husbands, and what are you doing? And my kids were grown, so it was easier, but I had my mom and my mother-in-law both lived with us and all that stuff that comes with that. And I remember I said, I'm going to travel alone once a year at least when I came back. And I was 47 when I went on this trip. And in that time alone, I began to really get to know who I was, and I thought, man, she's pretty cool. This Berta girl that, I lost touch with for so many years, as we tend to do. So that process really began, and I say it's only God for me without thinking I was going to need it, but it came in very handy, Meg. So I love that you say that, because it really that does really shake you, as I said.
I often say, interestingly enough, for me, I had such a great relationship with my mother toward, the end of her life. And the reality was, I didn't really need to talk to anybody else. I mean, I had my best friends and they were close for a long time. But when I started my life, I really shared with her everything. Like if I had this, insight, I would call her. And I never really looked to other people to, satisfy that incredible urge of curiosity to, play in the kind of stages of enlightenment, So it was really kind of interesting. I love that, when I realized that she wasn't going to be there anymore, it was really shocking to me because I was like, well, who is going to talk to me anymore? So yeah, literally, it was kind of like, oh my God, and who's going to love me unconditionally anymore? And it was one of those things that just like shook me to my core because you say never quit, never quit.
Yeah.
You're like, yeah, but I'm not sure I like it here anymore. Yeah. I'm like, and Vera is saying sending hugs and love on this special anniversary, and I see 10 years. It's like it's kind of shocking to me that I'm still not hanging out in my closet. I don't know. Like, when you went through the process, your mom was in her 80s, my mom was late 60s, but still, it's never old. Like there's never like
it's never a good time, right?
It's never like, wait a second, like and when you're celebrating all of the things like walking up Mount Kilimanjaro and me finishing the Camino, like I know I probably would not have done it if she were still alive. So but I wish I could tell her all about it, so it's just kind of one of these kind of it's like the double-edged sword, it's like, wow, my life really opened up to possibility. And I think it's because of the lessons that they teach us growing through. And that kind of goes back to our theme today. So if you give me a second, it's the whole idea of you live long enough, you'll make mistakes, but if you learn from them, you'll be a better person. It's how you handle adversity, not how it affects you. The main thing is never quit, never quit, never quit. And that's Bill Clinton. But, I really want to say, my mother was always like, I think she may have rolled her eyes a couple times because I was a huge dreamer back then. I was like, oh, yeah, I'm going to do everything, Mom. And they're like, get a job, become a lawyer, be safe. Like, I don't know about you, but you had a great thriving business. You were in it. You are like, you have solid business foundationals. I imagine, like, I don't know, was your mother really impacting you in that particular area? She came here from Cuba, for God's sake. The woman had, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And I think, Megan, that's such a great question, because I think a lot of times I see this side of my mom, because we can create in our minds whatever we want that to be. And I was obsessed with my mom growing up, right? My father went back to Cuba when she was 5 months pregnant. So thank God we had, my grandparents and my aunt. I grew up in a house with three cousins. So I was an only child, but I didn't grow up like an only child. So my mother was pure work ethic, pure loyalty. I mean, almost to a fault as far as my father was concerned, even though he was in Cuba. There were like all these very subtle lessons, but I'll tell you what's crazy. It was a total breaking of the mold. I was not supposed to have my own business. I was supposed to work and come home and do the extracurriculars with the kids, and that's just what was normal for us. It was not this, who goes out there and starts doing mission trips, and I've always been an avid volunteer. That was not the mold of our family growing up. But I'll tell you what, probably the biggest lesson from my mom, and I only remember it in hindsight. And when I say remember, I don't mean remember. I'm talking about hearing the story, the retelling of the story. My mom was always afraid of the dark, like deathly afraid of the dark. She slept with her closet light on in her room. She didn't like to be in the house alone. So when I was, probably a year and a half old, I was toilet trained. So in the evening, I would have to go to the bathroom. But there's this hallway. Everything is dark. When there were 8 of us in a 2-bedroom, if you turned on the lights, everybody in the house woke up, and I would have to pee. And she would say, "Listen, go ahead, go by yourself," because she was afraid of going with me because she had to walk this dark highway. And I'd look at her probably like, "Hey, you're the adult here," and she would say, "Just go. God is with you." So I would go do my thing and come back. And you know what? I feel like that must have planted a seed in this, year and a half year old little girl, of faith and trust, and knowing that God was with me, and not being afraid of certain things. So of course, here I am, building a business, telling her I'm going to go away. I started working on my pilot's license the same year, and she would be petrified when she would see me get up and grab my pilot bag, and it was 6 a.m. and I'm calling for the weather, and she would say, "Are you going to go fly today? I'm going to be spend the whole day nervous and whatever." And I would say, "Mom, look, I have more of a chance of getting killed on the road driving to Miami than when I'm up on the plane for an hour. It's just that's just not how it works."
I'm going to stop
But
you for a second because I
yeah,
want to
go ahead.
tell everybody what we're talking about here. First of all, this is in the kids in Kenya, or is this?
Yeah, this is Sipao, my first sponsored child. He's the one I climbed Kili for.
So your project is with. Go ahead, tell everyone a little bit about that because I want everyone to understand what you're doing because you really help a lot of these kids.
Yeah, so One Child is an organization out of Colorado Springs, and they are a child sponsorship model. They have over 40,000 kids in 14 different countries. And when they put this climb together, the mission was that you would commit to climbing this mountain, fundraise enough. It was just under $6,000. Sipao was five, all the kids, there were 23 climbers, they were all 5 years old. And those funds would ensure that they had medical, nutritional, and educational support until they graduated their version of high school. Because these, in Kenya, schools are public, but they're not free. So the Maasai people living way beneath the poverty line cannot afford to send their children to school.
Right.
So that's what the climb was. So Sipao at the time was 5. When I get there, we got to meet them, and I got to meet his entire family. It was a wonderful experience. And then I went back 2 years later, and I promised him that I wanted him to know that I existed, that I wasn't just, a stamp on a letter. And he's 12 now, and I have, 14 other kids in addition to
Tell me
spouses.
about this. So you're an adventurer, first of all. And I didn't mean to cut you off because I'm getting to the picture of you in a plane. Because literally
Do it.
So I wanted to make sure we go back to that story. But this is who you are. You're an adventurer. And I think that, maybe when your mother pushed you to get out of the, go to the bathroom by yourself at night, you're like,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna do this. I'm not gonna go with God. It's like, go with God. Yeah.
Yeah.
So and also, here we go with regard to the pilot. So tell us, tell the rest of your story as you were telling your mom is like, telling you, are you really going to get
petrified? She was always afraid, and I almost felt bad for making her nervous, but at the same time I couldn't shy away from, number one, doing what I wanted to do, and number two, showing my kids. And Chloe was around at the time already. She was 2 years old. Chloe's my granddaughter, and I needed them to know that it was okay to break the mold and not to live in fear. And you know what, if I'm not afraid of dying because I've done it all, and not doesn't mean I don't have a 5-gallon drum waiting for things I want to do.
Yeah.
But I'm okay with life because I'm living it. You know what I mean?
I totally know. And this is your beautiful mother, and
My mama.
Mine, right? I have yours under me, and
yeah. I love it. I
have yours under me, and you have mine under you. But these are the women who are the ones who encourage us to tell a better story for our life. And I think that one of the coolest things about being a parent is that the whole idea is that when you learn from those mistakes, you can hopefully pass on that better person example to your kids. There's so many. Okay, so my mother was the daughter of a congressman. Okay, so clearly, and they were forced every night to come to the table and have something to tell. There were 5 kids. She was one of 5. She was the oldest of 5. And they made them come to the table and said, what did you do to serve today? And they or have self-aware of what's going on in the world today, because you are not the only one in this world, and the planet does not revolve around you. So her vision or mission for all of us is like the same, like education is key. You better get a good education. You better work hard. This life is not like you opportunities are out there, but you're not going to get it unless you work. And the discipline. So she's always discipline. And meanwhile, I'm this creative kid. Like I was like discipline. Like I'm going to go draw for hours. That sounds disciplining for me.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, nobody in school, reading, writing, and arithmetic cared about my drawing. so, it's kind of living in that world where she came from, and I don't know about your mother, maybe you can share a little bit about that, but she probably would have been a really amazing lawyer. My mother was like, she was exposed to politics her whole life. They campaigned with my grandfather when they were younger. I mean, they knew what was going on in the world. They were very aware of the Italian Americans and what needs were in this particular, in the Bronx in New York, and how they served their community. And I mean, coming from Cuba as well, 5 months pregnant, your dad went back to Cuba. I can only imagine that there was this inner strength that they knew that they had to pass on. I'm asking you with regard to that, because, we all have dreams. It's the ones that have a hunger for those to actually see our purpose unfolding and calling. And I think in many ways, the gift of the foundationals like discipline, hard work, education, kind of opened up those doors. So we realized, and plus my mother was complete feminist. I mean, she home, took care of the kids, but man, my daughters are all going to have careers, and they're not going to answer to any man in such a way. They're all going to have their own heads on their shoulders, and literally two lawyers and a doctor. I mean,
I love it.
When she died, she was like, okay, I did my job. Like, but tell me a little bit about your mom and how she left that particular legacy, because I see you and I see what you're doing for your daughter and for your granddaughter with these wonderful trips that you go to Kili, and you travel, and you climb mountains, and you raise money for one child, and all of these things. Tell me a little bit about how she impacted you.
Yeah, I think it's a beautiful testament, and I love that you shared that, Meg, because I think that every generation has better tools, right?
Yeah.
And my grandmother, who I was very close to, I was raised by my grandparents practically, because my mom worked a lot, even though she raised me. I know that my mom had better tools than my grandmother, and her parents, they were very, very big on the education. In Cuba, they had to go to university, all that stuff. So my mother comes here, and then you're starting from zero, especially not knowing, is this man coming back? Is what's going to happen? They don't know still. It's the early 60s, and they don't know what's going to happen. So there was all this, just, it seemed like sort of survival mode pending. You know what I mean? For her, it was I have to do the best that I can, and I have to raise my daughter, and I have to help my parents who are aging, and be there for my sisters, and it was just her world revolved around family, and our nucleus, Meg, was, the average nucleus is, okay, mom, dad, siblings. Our nucleus included second, third, fifth cousins. It was like our nucleus was a very big nucleus, because my sisters were very strong matriarchs. Then they instilled that in my mom and her sisters and all the cousins. So it was like you threw all the kids into a big pot, and everybody was raising everybody's kids or looking out for everybody's kids. So for her, I think that the family unit was so essential, that everything revolved around that. Like, my mom was the person who was always feeding everyone. She lived with me most of my married life. So it was like our house was the house, because that's what she always wanted to do. She just wanted to take care of everyone. And that, to a certain degree, really bled into me, even though I'm an only child, to have that. There's an expectation of, she would look at me a little like, through the side of her eye, making sure that I'm taking care of everyone, and making sure that I'm making, it was almost like I had to take on that role. But it was, for her, it was just, and she never sat me down and said, hey, listen, this is what you have to do, A, B, and C, and this. It was all, I'm either going to show you by example, or you're not going to.
So tell me, so you left your job as it was in the title insurance, right? That was what you were doing. And you since juxtaposed your career to this life coach extraordinaire. I mean, business coach, adventure coach. You're more than just life. I mean, it's like everything, And do you see your mother speaking through you sometimes when you're doing what you're doing now, as if, wow, she's really living the dream that I came here to get for her. Like, so you're really servicing other people and not feeding them in many ways food, but you're feeding them life sustenance. And on top of that, you're really spiritually lifting people's souls through this generosity, which you just do. And you can tell you're and I know only this because of the wonderful share that your daughter did with Chloe. She's opening up her own business at what, she's 12. So like literally
she's 9. She's 9.
9 years old. So I want to go back to a lot of the power of your understanding the gifts of your mother, and at the same time I can share the understanding of the gifts of mine, because while you're being raised, you're not so happy with it because you want to be, and I can only imagine, Berta, you're very independent. You literally, make your way in this world. You went to the bathroom by yourself at the age of 1.5. You get in planes and you fly, you climb mountains. I mean, clearly there's something that's pulling at you to adventure. So what does this mean? Keep track, but don't keep score.
Oh, I love that, Meg. And I think what happens is that I am not a tit for tat. I stopped keeping score a long time ago. I'm going to be generous because I'm going to be generous, not because I think of what I'm going to get in return. And I think that was one of the greatest lessons from my mom, and it hit me at her funeral. We had her funeral, and we had 2 other rooms, reserved, and we had more food than I'd ever seen anywhere. We had a coffee stand, and it was just so normal because she spent her entire life wanting to serve people and actually feed them. So I didn't want to do a funeral. I wanted to really celebrate her life, except, you have to do it at whatever. So I think that one of the greatest things for my mom was that she spent her entire life making deposits into people's lives without ever expecting to make a withdrawal, without ever expecting anything return. She just did it because that's what she did. So that's what I mean by that I keep track that I'm doing it. Am I living up to it? Am I honoring her? Am I making sure that I'm doing my part? I don't care what comes back.
Yeah.
That's between, God and the universe. It has nothing to do with me. But I'm going to do it. And what the good thing about that is that since I'm not keeping score, I can do it all day. Because I'm not worried about what's coming back.
Yeah.
It's coming back. Don't get me wrong. It's coming back 1,000-fold just from other places.
Yeah.
But I'm not saying like, hey, I've been serving these people for 6 months and I haven't heard, anything from them. But that's just not what we're here to do.
Well, it's very interesting that you point that out, and I think that's pretty amazing because our value doesn't come from the money we're paid. I mean, and I think that people get lost in that, so to speak, because I can tell you at my mom's funeral there were what felt like 800 people there.
Wow.
And like there were at least 10 priests on the dais, and this is a woman who did not take crap from anyone. Like she would. I mean, my sister Mary and all 3 of us gave the eulogy, and right before we actually went on, like literally on, the electricity in the entire church, and it was a huge church, it's St. Mary Magdalene or like Altamont Springs, huge church, it went out, and I looked at my sister, I go, oh, she's here. We really better not screw this up, man, because she is listening, and what we say is going to make a difference. And I think that many, I know my mom truly cared about people. Like she truly wanted to see people, like you're saying, succeed. And what you're saying is, out of the generosity of her heart, she, I think people get lost in the notion that, we're here to make a lot of money. I mean, my father really did well. He served as well as a cardiologist. He did really great in the community, that he's well respected. He just loves his patients. But our parents just showed, it's like, you're here to be a part of the fabric of society, to make this place a better place. Not like her father would say, you're not here to take up space. You're here to serve in some capacity. And I do believe there's like a sweet spot, I think that if you feel that you're being like, I think you can't give from an empty cup. So back to what we were saying before, the whole love yourself notion. But I think once your cup is filled, not keeping track, but don't keep score is really a way to look at it, because at the end of the day, if you ask anyone who knew my mom, they would like, she changed my life. And we hear that still today, we hear that. So, another thing I wanted to say, why, you put Papa Smurf on here. So I am dying to know what in the heck. Oh, by the way, Leslie's saying that both your moms sound like amazing women. She loved the quote that you put as well. But Papa Smurf, tell me about him.
Papa Smurf has a quote that says, wait, I don't want to get this wrong. She was not amazing. No, wait, I'm going to mess this up. Hold on, because I know what it is. Okay, so the premise of the quote is that a person is not amazing because they believe they're amazing.
Okay.
They are amazing in advance because we believe that they're amazing. Like, let's say, with your mom, she breathed life into all of your dreams and everything that you wanted to do. So you became, we sort of become what the expectation is. We sort of live up to what we want them to see, for me as well as for you, because I know we've gotten into stories of your mom. It's like you live up to what you are believed to live up to.
Right.
And whether that comes from you at an early age, it has to come from our parents, it comes from our teachers, it comes from the people around us that love us, until we get to that point where we can believe it enough in ourselves that we're not dependent. I think that's the word I'm looking for. We're not dependent on the external. And you said something key, Meg. You said you can't pour from an empty cup. Now I believe that we actually can pour from an empty cup, and we do it all the time. I just wouldn't recommend it.
Yeah. Actually, yes, definitely that, because you will be so depleted that I truly believe, though, that there is this joy component that you're not here to walk this earth only to have a one-sided experience of suffering. I mean, that's optional, right? The pain is there. I mean, I know it. I saw my mother, go through a cancer diagnosis, and she suffered, and she, literally, watching her go through that was just probably so incredibly. I don't even know the extent of the pain that she was, and the fear that she was, and I felt, because of the empathy. But the reality is, there is a joy component. There is that part of the coin that you have to flip over and realize, okay, I really need to take care of myself now, because I want to experience life not exhausted, not not under appreciated. Like, and I tell my kids all the time, literally all the time, you do this to me, it's gonna come back and haunt you one day. I can't believe I'm saying that. I'm pretty sure my mother said it to me all the time. But the bottom line is, it's true. It's just true, because there you go. But
Meg, you think about what the gift that your mom gave you, right before she passed. That completely changed the trajectory of your life.
Oh yeah. I went chasing after a lighthouse. And also, she said to me, stress will kill you. Don't have any regrets. And I was like, I have lots of regrets right now. This is where I died. If I put myself, I saw death and I put myself there, and I go, oh yeah, no. I mean, I'm blessed. I'm grateful. I literally, there were so many beautiful things that happened from that point to that point. But no, this like whole creative side wants to come out. So yeah, I absolutely. And what about you at the end, like with your mom? Like, was there something that, shifted you as well? That, for instance, you were like, here you say, expect what you want into your life. Was that something that you always had in you? Or is that something that you came to know, as you got older, or when your mother passed?
I think it just becomes obvious, and when we hear things, that invitation, like that invitation that your mom gave you, that sort of jolted you, probably you were aware of it, but not so in front of you that you had to do something with it. That expectation that we have, and I think I'm a firm believer that we don't always get what we want or what we need, but we do always get what we expect.
Yeah.
And we need to be expecting more for ourselves. I think at the end of my mom's life, I'm an eternal optimist to a fault. I say, I remember my mom went back into the hospital. It was like, the fifth times, in 3 months, and it was just wearing on me. But I knew that if I could get my mom to eat, my mom survived what she shouldn't have survived. And the doctor would even tell me, what I pulled off, what God and I pulled off with your mom is the greatest miracle of my career.
Wow.
Because she had a blood clot and then she came out of it and she was fine, but then she started to decline because she sort of made a decision that this was it for her. And I remember that about a month before she passed, and my cousins would say, listen, would tell my husband and the kids, you're going to have to take her to therapy. She's in denial. She doesn't think her mom is going to die. And I would tell the people, listen, you guys don't know my mom. My mom is a beast. If I can just get her to eat, she's going to be fine. And we're going to be on the other side of this and everything is going to be good.
Yeah.
And I remember I dropped her off at the hospital. I couldn't overnight. And then I had a class the next day. So I had Jocelyn went in and stayed with her that day so I could go to this class. And you have to get up and say one thing about yourself in this class. And I got up and I said, I realized that I am optimistic to a fault. And it was because I couldn't see it. And it was the first time that I was finally coming to grips with the fact that this may not turn out the way that I want. This may really be the end. And I think I was almost heartbroken for my mom because like she didn't want to say it out loud, but she would look at me with these sympathetic eyes, and she had her everything was fine. She had her mind, and but it was almost like listen, I don't know how to tell you, but this is not going to end the way the way you think. And until I started reading what she wasn't saying and hearing what she wasn't saying, that's when I started to come to grips with the fact that holy crap, this may be it. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah.
God,
You
I'm
know,
such a wuss. I'm sorry.
no, but the interesting thing is so funny because you're the eternal optimist, and everyone like was trying to hold an intervention for me too.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm sorry, but you can all
Yeah.
pound sand. She asked me to fight for her, and you know what? Keep it outside the room, okay? If you're going to have your naysaying, keep it outside the room. And
Good.
they're like, oh, I think she's completely delusional. But you know what? I'm like, it's not over till it's over. And for me, I'm going to be quite honest with regard to this. Like, I felt, and this is probably very, innocent and childlike for me, but I felt as long as my mother was praying for me, nothing bad would ever happen. Like,
Exactly.
I was like, she's praying. I could go jump off a friggin' road, I'm like, I'll be fine. I'm fine. My mom's like, okay. So when she, and I saw fear for the first time in her eyes when she was going through the final months. And it's really, it's I'm a hypochondriac. I'll be the first one to admit it. Like, if I like read something and I'm like, oh my God, I have brain cancer, like literally, like I'll go to the extreme. Maybe it's because I'm afraid of the shock value. Just
Yeah.
take me to the end and then wheel me back, because like then I can handle life a little bit better. But then my mom,
Right.
she'd be like, okay, Meg, you're fine. You'll be fine. And I believed her, because I believed she was saint-like. And I think that she had a direct link to God, even if I didn't, because God and I have words constantly. But as long as she had a direct link, it was kind of like, but God, she's my daughter. Be good to her, be nice. She's just got this really powerful spirit. She's just like stubborn and, but she's my daughter and I'm good. And just take care of her. So I'd be in kind of the loop, like keep it, it's kind of like, I'm no saint, but I got her and she's not. So when I was facing like the ultimate, like, her end, and I was like, okay, do you want to go? Is this something like you wanted me to get? No, I want to fight. Okay, I'm with you. I want to ask questions. I'll fight too. And like they thought I lost my mind. They all think, but I love it because expect what you want into your life. Like I expect miracles. Call me crazy. I expect miracles, and more often than not things happen. But I think it's funny because I think there comes to a certain point in time where maybe she didn't see possibility, and the reality was I was very angry when it didn't work out the way I wanted it to work out. Clearly, I would have loved more years with her. I don't think anything like there's no like 10 more years, 20 more. I would like, nope, she's going to be here until I don't need her. Like, 'cause she's my mom. And that's what moms do. And I see that role. And, yeah, I just think that now I have a lot of compassion for other people as they walk their path because I've been in those shoes, which gives you a lot of the gifts of the never quit, right? So I can say, listen, I've been there. I know what it feels like to be truly devastated and not seeing a light at the end of the tunnel. And I had people who said, Meg, there's a light. I see it for you. Just hold my hand until we can get you there, which, my mother did for me. And now I had other people showing up in my life. So my circle of influence has gotten larger. And maybe that was the gift of her passing, is to open me up to mine so I can, bring other people into this beautiful conversation that I would never have because I had her. And I go back to what you were saying with regard to your mom. In many ways, you don't want to hear it. You don't want to hear it, but that's okay because that's authentically you. Why would you show up any other way? If you want to hear, perpetual optimism is a force multiplier. On any given day, I choose that, and I choose you to be who you are, than I would someone coming up and saying, nope, not going to happen. Not going to happen, because guess what? It won't happen if you believe it to be that way, right? So tell me a little bit about this quote and what that means to you, Berta.
Perpetual optimism is a force multiplier. I love this, Meg, and it's crazy. I did a lot of self-work. I think like we all have, right? When we get to that space where we feel like our soul is just screaming at us to do something, because we don't recognize ourselves in these mirrors anymore. And I remember looking back, I was doing this rebirthing. I don't know if anybody out there has ever done rebirthing. And it's this process where you go through, it's a 10-week process where you go through conception, gestation, and infancy. And it just breath work, and it's really the coolest thing ever. And I remember that I had watched the Rise of the Guardians, that cartoon.
Yes.
That part where Santa, is trying to convince Jack Frost to find his center, and he takes the Russian nesting dolls, and that little core that you can't tear it apart. What's your center? And he's asking him. And I remember that for me, I felt like I knew, but I didn't know what my center is. I had not identified my center. And one day when I'm doing all this rebirthing stuff, it was a great group of girls. We're still very close, all of us. And I remember that during one of these breathwork things, this picture, the picture that I have in my book in the back, is me at 5 years old, wearing a sailor suit at JM Fields in the portrait studio. Okay, getting my picture taken.
How did you not that me, Berta? How did you not
take
a picture of me?
Yeah. So that's the good thing about when your father doesn't live here. There was no money for anything else, but there were always portraits. Okay, because we had to, we communicated with pictures. So I'm sitting there and I'm looking at this picture of myself, and that's just the one that popped into my head. That there was no reason whatsoever for me to be, and I'm not just smiling for the camera, like I'm smiling with my entire being in this picture.
I love that.
No father, we were just, I don't want to say we were dirt poor because we always had food. My grandfather would never accept welfare or government cheese or government peanut butter, whatever it was. And I remember that my mom suffered a lot because my father wasn't here. My mom worked her fingers to the bone, and she would have to take 2 or 3 buses to get to her job. And it was just not a good situation. And I didn't see my mother-in-law, but somehow this 5-year-old girl knew that everything was going to be okay. And so I say that, and I always blame my grandfather because he was the most optimistic human I've ever known. But I think that in my DNA, there's this built-in optimism that I've always known. No matter what it looks like on the outside, I've always known that everything is going to be okay.
Oh my God.
And that's what came up for me. And then I decided on my own that my little center of the Russian nesting doll that you cannot, and I even keep one behind me to remind myself all the time that my little center that cannot be torn apart is optimism. And that's what gets me through everything. And it's not something I wear. It's not something that I have to put on a game face. It's just always there. And I'm grateful.
It's so funny because I don't remember a lot of my grandfather, but I just had this wave of memory as you were talking. And I remember him singing to us because he was a big, massive man. Like he was this tall man, like 6'5" something. And he was like, had such a presence. I mean, he was a congressman. He knew how to own a room. And he would sing to us, what makes that little old ant, think he can rubber. That's a song that's happening in my head.
Yeah.
It's can do, right? Can do, the ant said that whatever the ant can do. It's just, it's just the kind of belief is what gives you the power to believe that you can be all of you, like from the center out, like, and that's beautiful what you said, sit in your center and just move out from there rather than trying to get it externally, because the emptiness. Like if I look to external parts of my world, one day they could love me, the other day they could hate me. It has nothing to do with me. But the reality is, like, what makes you think that you can move a rubber tree plant?
Exactly.
Because I can. And there's nothing wrong with the optimism because it's going to take you further. And that plays into this. And the courage is not having the strength to go on. It's going on when you don't have the strength. And this is just beautiful. And I can't believe it's hitting me like this because, literally, I'll be honest, when she died, I did not want to go on. And, saying that out loud might scare my family members. And it did scare them. It did scare them because I didn't see a way, like the why is the way. I didn't see my why anymore. And I think, when you have someone who is externally giving you the sustenance, from their heart place of love, sharing that with you, it's a very difficult proposition to think that you would be able to replace that in the world when you knew there's so many outlying things out there that weren't in your favor, that they did not believe in you, that you had to prove yourself constantly, and not to have a person in your life that said, you can do this, that, like your grandfather said, like you say it, like, I had to like somehow look within to find what she had. But reality, this is the beautiful part of the whole cathartic process, is that I realized that she gave me all the tools that I needed. She gave me everything. So tell me a little bit about what this means to you, the courage. My father says the core coming from your heart space, your courage.
I think that's huge. And I love what you just shared, Meg, because I think what happens is that she empowered you through every comment, through every phrase, through every hug, through every you can do it, empowered you to believe it enough. And it's what I always say, and I'm sure you say it with your kids, I want them to be okay when I'm not here. I want them to be empowered within themselves, when I'm not here. And I think that's one of the things that being with yourself takes courage. Getting to know yourself takes courage. It's so much easier to be distracted and to be busy and to be, hey, listen, let's shut it off. I can't not have the TV on, and I can't not have, whatever. I need the noise because I don't want to be with myself. Yeah. And I think one of the most courageous things I think that I could, and sounds so lame, right? That I probably have ever done is to force myself to be with myself so that I can get to know myself. I just didn't know what I didn't know, and I looked at myself one day in the mirror at 46 years old. And yeah, I've been married 26 years. We raised two great kids. We were taking care of our mothers. I had built a successful business, and I'm thinking, what the fuck? I'm full of empty. I don't know what is happening right now. Everything, every box is checked off, and I suck inside. What is happening? So that decision um, to really get to know myself, like I said, when I came back, I did that, started traveling alone, and that one vacation alone turned into, I'm committed to taking 12 vacations a year. That's what I do. I've done that last couple of years. 6 of them are by myself because I need to continue to nurture that relationship with me. And the only way to do it is to be still and to be alone and to be with myself. But that took a lot of courage from me because, number one, from the outside, people are like, hey, is she really going alone? Not that you know me, I don't give up, what. But from the inside, it's like, I gotta deal with my shit when I'm by myself.
Yeah.
There's no one to distract me, so
it's funny because, as you know, my God, this is amazing. First of all, Leslie's saying you both are inspiring. Thank you, Leslie. It takes one to know one, I must say. Suzanne is wishing she could send hugs tonight. I feel your hugs. And yes, Berta is a very strong woman. I don't know if I will take that. I don't know if I'll own that because I could hear my mother saying, "Oh, you're crying. What are you crying for?" I'm always a stronger woman than that. Don't you bring tears. And I'm just like,
oh, beautiful.
Emote. I emote all the time. On my sleeve. You'll see. There's clearly, like, I would be sitting in court and I would be like, you knew. Okay, you got me. You got me. And then Lisa's saying that my mother was a force. Lisa Lomerin, my best friend. I'm so grateful that I got to have her in my life. You embody so much your mom's force, Meg, and she loves me. So I do want to say one of the things that I find so interesting is that, as you know, today I got my design pages back from the publisher, and it literally this morning I saw the story of how my mom, I got to, and I do believe this was a privilege, and my sisters will say the same, that we got to walk her through till the end. And I think I'm really grateful for that opportunity because that is something really special to be able to help someone in their transition and to get their angel's wings, whatever you want to call it. It's really is a privilege to be in that space. And for me, I didn't see that then. I know it now. I think in my falling apart, I got stronger at the broken parts without even, intending for that to happen because, I spent a lot of time in my closet with my track, talking to her, saying, not really happy about you leaving me, having the conversations that people would Baker Act you on, which means they're but I didn't show anybody. So I know that there's a lot of people out there going through this agony and this grieving process in the quiet of their soul and not knowing if there's anyone who would understand them. And, I had people who held me, guiding me, like I said, to see a light when I didn't think that there was a light any longer. It's like that dark night of the soul and people walking you home out of it. And one of the things I will say is the gifts of the process I would not have known 10 years ago. And literally, I was happy to make it week by week because, my nervous system was truly shot. But going through this pandemic this last year, having the tools that I had learned going through that prepared me to be a strength. And meeting people like you that are gifts in my life, certainly from a place of generosity, for sure, friendship. I think it goes without saying that I found a soul friend in you, Berta.
Me too. Me too. Thank you, Meg.
But the beautiful thing is that we continue the legacy. And it was interesting because I wrote this morning, legacy comes from Latin. It means legatus, and they're ambassadors. So you get to choose what you want to be an ambassador of as your legacy. So, as we move through and embrace this wonderful life journey that we both have chosen to take, I think, in many ways, you're like, okay, so what's the next step? The uncertainty is there. What awaits me, what awaits you, what awaits all of us out there who are listening. I think it comes into this kind of effortless excitement into the possibility of the world, of the dreamers, of the manifestors, of the magical ones, even that, who have perhaps not seen or known that we all are directly connected to that love place and that center that's directly connected to God, the universal divine. And once we realize that we all are interconnected, you show up in any space, we all have that, beautiful give and take, then we understand the true reality that these people, they came into our lives, and bottom lining it, it's a beautiful gift that we get to still be here to share their gifts with others. So I want to go back to the beginning where I asked you to set your intention for tonight, and go ahead and share, Berta, because this has been such a beautiful conversation. I think that my mother would have loved to know you. She knows you because she probably placed you in life. And Ceci, your cousin, I will do a shout out to Ceci, amazing doctor of body talk and craniosacral, who got me through the process with my tinnitus, trying to lower my nervous system. She was the one who connected the two of us, and now we walk on this journey, all of us together, knowing that we all impact each other. So go ahead, tell us what your intention was for this evening.
My intention was really just to reconnect. I think to reconnect with that love that our moms, and I know your story with your mom. I feel like I know Mary Jo. I think her legacy, you're part of obviously her legacy, and I think you're making her proud every day. And I think one thing, and I love, again, Meg, I'm so grateful and honored that you had me on this very special day. But I think one thing, and I don't want to leave without saying it because it came up as you were talking, and I know your story with Camino, as you were talking about looking for that light somewhere else. You're a freaking lighthouse woman. and sometimes when you are the light, you can't see it because you're it. But I'm telling you, you are the light for everybody around you, everybody that knows you, everybody that you have yet to impact. And Mary Jo's light is shining in your lighthouse of a light. So I just think that she's got to be, and she's such a beautiful woman, and I see her smile there in the picture, but she's got to be up there like, hey, that's my Maggie, look, mine. So I think just don't ever forget that, girl, because you've got this power in your soul that you need to share with the world. And I'm glad that you're doing it. I'm glad that you've had the courage to do it and to stick to it and never give up and never give up and never give up, because the world needs Meg. So thank you for having me on, girl, and for being my friend. And I love you. And you're amazing.
It's funny because the story of when she died, right before she passed away. I was praying, please give us our miracle. Let her stay, and I saw a vision of a lighthouse, and I literally never had that kind of experience before. Now, those kind of things happen quite often. So I'm just like, I know I'm not crazy, but I saw a lighthouse, I saw this blue sky, and then I saw this burst of light, and I felt her say to me, let me go. And of course, it's interesting because, now you're saying, I am a lighthouse and I see you as a lighthouse. And maybe that's what she was trying to tell me, is don't look externally to the world to be the light. You be the light to shine so others can see their own. And, of course, I spent 7 years basically looking to find a lighthouse that I was going to find because I felt like there was a message there. So I did, in fact. And guys, when I tell you this, I'm not a hiker. Really, not me. I'm beach girl. I'll go walk up and down the beach. I'll do that till the cows come home. I won't be at the cows, but literally I was walking on a Camino with cows. Not my place, but I had to do it for my spiritual pilgrimage to find this lighthouse. And at the end, you'll have to read the book to find out what I found. But the reality is that at the end of the day, what Berta said is so true, is that when we go through darkness, we just need other people to shine the light on what and who is you, so that you can do it for someone else and be that generosity of spirit for another person when they're going through it too. So, that's the beauty of being interconnected on this planet, serving each other from a place of love, like you said. And I don't think I could say it any better. It is the intention of being here in, like, with this loving concept that, God, you guys, Berta's going to take you on the dreaming succeed journey. I'm going to say, start writing a better story for yourself, because bottom line is, at the end of the day, they did. And they were proud at the end, and they're proud of everyone. My sisters, I know my mother would be so proud of each of them, what they've done with their life. And you, Berta, your mom, I know would be proud of what you've done with your life. And I think, wonderfully enough, today, like I said to you before, I said, my pages came out today and the story is done. And I get to write a new chapter for the rest of my life, telling a new story. And, if you guys want to join me, then I welcome you. And definitely Berta is going to be right by my side. I know it, because God knows when you find that light, you want to keep them, and, certainly not snuff them out, but, start breathing oxygen, so it expands and we become, all of us, beautiful light. So I'm going to give you the last word tonight. We're not going to read an insight, because I think that the whole insight tonight is just about love. I want you to give us final inspiration as we leave today and go about the week. And thank you so much once again, all of you, for being here on this very special celebration of my mom, of Berta's mom, of women, powerful women who are here to make a difference in this world, shining our light so that others can see theirs. Berta, give us your final bit of inspiration tonight.
Final thing I want to say, and again, Meg, thank you so much. You know how much I love you. Is guys, let's focus on the good.
Yeah.
A lot of good going on out there. Let's focus on that and leave everything else.
The eternal optimist speaks, and I will second that. There's a lot of good, and my dad will say, my mom used to say it to her all the time, you fight corporate evil with good. So let's all focus on the good and bring the good, bring the love, and, shine and do our thing. And, certainly, if you really, really believe in the beauty of your dreams, then I say it's time to transform them into reality and step out there. And we're here to be the manifestors, the life changers, and we're here to just come here, do our thing, being the deliberate creators of our life. So you guys, I'm going to put Berta's contact information. It is bertamedina.com, where you can find her magic. And she has wonderful books called The Why is the Way. And certainly, if you want to learn more about your why and get some great questions to get catapulted into the future, grab that book, because it's definitely a wonderful starter, or even middle, or even finisher if you're almost there. And certainly follow Berta as she goes on her next adventure, because God only knows. I think she's going to Kenya this summer, which is so exciting. Yeah. Hawaii too. So this girl doesn't stop. I'll be like cheering from the sidelines. I might go to Hawaii. I might go to Hawaii. I just like to play with her because she's a lot of fun, and that's where the joy comes in. So all of you, let's love ourselves exactly where we are, centered in that power of love within you, and continue to spread it and be the good, be bold, be an awakener, and it's time to manifest the life of your dreams. I love you, girl. You're the best. Thank you guys all for being here tonight. And, you know, go out there and create a beautiful life for yourselves. All right. Telling great stories, right? Have a good night.
Good night.